We've seen some new faces this season. Felicity Huffman's been really fun to watch. Can you talk about shaping that character a little bit? We were just Dave and I were just talking about it, but she's so fun because she's bringing something different to what you would think an FBI agent would be.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Felicity about maybe doing something on the show, and I did, so we kind of were looking for a role for her, and came up with the FBI agent, and then thought, well, what's a fun twist on it that would make it fun and would actually entice her to do it, and the log line we came up with was, hippie therapist meets J. Edgar Hoover. And I told her a little bit on the phone. I said, that's the idea, she can be, whatever that means in terms of how she dresses. And she's got, we had to argue with Johanna, who said, the FBI doesn't dress like this. They would never dress like that. And we said, well, no, she's very well respected, so she gets to dress like this. And then Felicity just ran with it. The hairstyle, reading glasses that she switches into. She's wearing she's got to be the only actress in Hollywood who asks if she can wear her own fat suit that adds 8 pounds. So it actually just makes you, we were calling it a normal suit. But anyway, she has a whole thing that she built up and started adding, we wrote sweetheart and those little affectionate terms, but she started throwing in a few extras, and all the writers were laughing, watching it, and ran with it, and yeah.
Yeah, it's like if your mom became an FBI agent. Very endearing and not threatening, but then you feel like there is a threat there.
Oh, there's steel underneath it. She's very sweet on the surface, but there's real determination under it. Yeah.
Well, and talk about the development of Miles kind of becoming an informant for them or working with them, which, like, Lewis won't have any of that, but Miles chooses to go that way. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we had some interesting arguments about that in terms of it really divided the writers and the network and the studio responded differently too in terms of those, which included me, who thought it was a fairly obvious conclusion to reach in the situation that he was in, that he loves his daughter, that's one of the stakes that's always primary for him, and all the rest of his life, and that going off to prison would be a disaster as he sees it. And this is a great way to thread the needle. I mean, I grew up in Boston. I was always fascinated by Whitey Bulger. Whitey Bulger was, before anyone arrested him, he was already working with the feds because he saw it as a chess move. It was a great chess move, and it worked very well for him. But then there were a lot of people who read this who said, who really wanted to talk about it, who felt like, he would never do that. There's a code, and a criminal would never willingly do that, which seemed good. It seemed good that there was two ways to look at it. Chris never questioned it, or he found his way there. But to me, there was no other solution.
Yeah, Sean, can you say because I feel like Lewis and Miles, that's one of the main relationships of the show. What we see play out the rest of the season as they're kind of a little separated at this point.
Well, to add on to Davey's point, that Chris never questioned it, and I actually had a little bit of an issue, remember, because I wasn't sure initially why Lewis had such a problem with it, because it is really smart, and Lewis has a tendency to understand that Miles has vision for things, and he's learned, and Lewis has learned to sort of trust that. But there's some backstory there that has not been revealed yet about Lewis. That
there was a whole Alex is
like going.
There was a whole all those scenes of Felicity in the FBI came last because actually the first structure for the episode. This is really wonky and overly in depth, but the whole structure initially was that we were going to cut away to Lewis's backstory with his family, and you would see, and he grew up with Mormon criminals, and that you'd see where this developed. It was a little bit of a serious backstory, and then we ended up stealing from the beginning of 6 and pulling it, that whole end at the FBI. We pulled in episode 5. And suddenly it felt weird structurally. Sorry, this is very in-depth. That it felt weird structurally that that we were bopping between Lewis and Miles, and then we dropped Lewis and we went off to the FBI. And I thought, to really give it a feeling where it all dovetails, the story we should be cutting away to is Felicity in the FBI office. So we have written, Alex and I have written some great stuff for next year that we pulled out, and it wasn't easy to do.
Yeah.
But when he came and said, "Why would Lewis ever do this?" I said, "Oh, well, you missed the 10 pages we just pulled out of the script to explain it."
Which was very helpful. I mean, and it didn't matter to me that it was not going to be there for you lovely people. But as an actor, I just needed to know, like, what's going on here, because Miles had, you know, we had 15 episodes up to that point where Miles had what seemed like kind of crazy ideas that Lewis went, "That's a stupid idea. Okay, I'm in." And now suddenly, you know, he wasn't. And so anyway, we'll see where that goes. But.
Okay, season three. For the other actors, I always wonder, like, how much do you need to know about where the story is going? Do you go episode to episode, or do you bug these guys to find out the whole season arc? How does that work for each of you? Because some people like to know, some people don't want to know. They just want to kind of go step by step.
I don't do a lot of bugging, do I? I don't.
No.
Not me. But I think early on he said, you know, intuitive, animalistic. Amara's going by the seat of her pants. So I think maybe it just works for me to be a little bit unsure, especially in season 2. There's so much going on around her that her whole attitude is like figuring out who she can trust, and being surprised kind of works.
I like to know.
That's part
of the reason why I like coming to the writers' room and seeing what's going on. It's like well just because I'm so into the story. Like, I feel like I'm so blessed to be part of something that I'm like really excited about, and so I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's developing, and what's awesome is that, you know, the writers, Davey, Adam, like everyone is so inclusive of the rest of the cast, giving feedback and really wanting to know where we are with it as a way to contribute to what's being developed. So that's nice. And the parts that I don't know, you know, I use my imagination. So.
Megan, how about you?
I stop myself from wanting to know. I think there's a certain level of trust that you have to have being an actor in this business, and I think I deal with things in the moment. So if there's something that I'm having trouble with, then I call him and I ask him, and Davey's always very open about saying where it's going. And just talking you through certain things. But no, I like to kind of live in the moment with it. And I mean, it's like life. You don't know what's going to happen.